Namaskar friends, this is Dr. Sumit Nandan. Today I am going to present an introductory lecture on the theory of Nava Rasa. Watching a dance performance, gazing at a painting, or listening to a musical composition or a story can momentarily dissolve the boundaries between the self and the world. A single glance, a subtle hand gesture, or a pause on stage has the power to make us laugh, grieve, or marvel. In the Indian aesthetic tradition of Navaras, such moments are not crafted for mere spectacle. Such moments are more than performance. They are windows to evoke a universal experience, one that transcends individuality and unites all in shared emotion. In this introductory lecture, my endeavor is to explore how emotion, bhava, becomes aesthetic relish, rasa. How resemblance, sadrishya, and universalization, sadharnikaran, transform particular experience into shared insight. Through the Navaras, the ordinary heart becomes receptive to the universal. The Navaras are more than literary or theatrical devices. They are a theory of consciousness in motion. Navaras is the cornerstone of Indian classical aesthetics, providing a structured approach to express and experience the full spectrum of human emotions through art. By understanding the 9 rasas, artists can create performances that move, inspire, and elevate the audience, while maintaining harmony between emotion, expression, and aesthetic experience. Through bhav, sadrishya, sadharnikaran, and the reception of the sahriday, Indian aesthetics explains how emotion is distilled, universalized, and relished as rasa. Navaras literally means 9 rasas, the 9 essential emotional flavors or sentiments that form the foundation of Indian classical art, dance, drama, and literature. While the rasa theory explains the general concept of aesthetic experience, Navaras specifically enumerates the 9 principal emotions, providing a systematic framework for performance and storytelling. Let's have the philosophical ground. Indian aesthetics, Alankar Shastra or Rasa Shastra, is not simply a theory of art, but a philosophical inquiry into consciousness, emotion, and transcendence. The Natya Shastra of Bharat Muni is believed to have been composed between 200 BCE and 200 CE. stands as a seminal text par excellence, while Abhinav Bharati is 10th century CE. It provides its metaphysical interpretation. Complementing them is the Abhinay Darpan of Nandi Keshwar, which is around 10th to 12th centuries CE. Abhinay Darpan is a text that translates the aesthetic philosophy of Rasa into the grammar of performance, detailing gestures, expressions, and bodily techniques through which bhavas are communicated. Together, these works articulate a vision of art where form and spirit, gesture and consciousness, actor and spectator converge in the aesthetic moment of rasa. Definition of rasa in Natya Shastra. Rasa arises from the conjunction of determinants, vibhava, consequents, anubhava, and transitory states, vyabhichari bhava. The Natya Shastra presents a dynamic process. The actor enacts emotional states, bhavas, through gestures and expressions, abhinay. The spectator, attuned through sensitivity, sahirdayata, experiences the distilled emotional essence called rasa. Thus, rasa is the consummation of shared aesthetic experience, where art becomes a mirror to life, yet transcends it. The 9 rasas are as follows: Shringar, that is erotic; Hasya, comic, humorous; Karun, pathetic; Raudra, furious; Veer, heroic; Bhayanak, terrible; Bibhats, odious; Adbhut, marvelous; and Shant, peaceful. Each rasa is not a mere emotional category, but a philosophical modality of consciousness, leading the spectator from the sensuous to the spiritual. Let's understand Abhinav Gupta's conception of rasa. Abhinav Gupta interprets rasa through Kashmir Shaiva Monism, seeing aesthetic experience as a manifestation of universal consciousness, that is Chit Shakti. Rasa Swad is akin to Brahma Swad, Abhinav Bharati, that is Rasanubhav is akin to Brahmanubhav. For him, the joy, Anand of rasa mirrors the bliss of self-realization, Brahmanand Sahodar. The spectator's consciousness, Chitta, momentarily transcends ego and object, revealing a non-dual awareness, the aesthetic analog of moksha. Abhinay Darpan expressive embodiment of rasa. While the Natya Shastra provides the theoretical framework, Nandikeshwar's Abhinay Darpan articulates its performative realization. It elaborates the fourfold Abhinay. 1. Angik, bodily gesture. 2. Vachik, verbal expression. 3rd, Aharya, costume and makeup. And 4th, Satvik, inner emotional response through which bhavas are externalized and transformed into rasa. He writes in Abhinay Darpan, Yato hasta tato drishti, yato drishti tato manas, yato manah tato bhavah, yato bhavah tato rasa. That is, where the hand goes, the eyes follow. Where the eyes go, the mind follows. Where the mind goes, emotion arises. And where emotion arises, rasa is born. This verse encapsulates how Abhinay acts as a kinetic pathway from physical gesture to emotional transcendence, aligning the microcosm of the performer's body with the macrocosm of consciousness. The role of sadrishya. Sadrishya, the principle of resemblance or likeness, functions as the aesthetic link between the actor's enactment and the spectator's recognition. Through sadrishya, the performed emotions are recognizably human, yet aesthetically stylized. This resemblance awakens memory and empathy without collapsing art into life. Thus, sadrishya enables bhavas to be seen as, yet not bound to, real experience, the essence of dramatic illusion, natya maya. In Indian poetics, sadrishya is not a literal imitation, mimesis, but a symbolic revelation of the archetypal form of emotion. It evokes the universal pattern of feeling rather than its particular instance. Let's understand Sadharnikaran. Abhinav Gupta's doctrine of Sadharnikaran explains how private emotion becomes universalized. The term literally means making common or general, a process by which personal emotion is purified of its individual reference and made universally available. When the spectator witnesses a scene of tragedy, one does not experience one's own sorrow, nor does one experience the actor's sorrow, but rather one experiences sorrow universalized, Karun Ras, a purified aesthetic emotion detached from ego and practical concern. In this state, the mind is Vishrant, restful, and joy, Anand, arises from the recognition of universality. The emotion becomes sadharan, belonging to no one in particular, yet shared by all, writes Abhinav Bharati. This is not abstraction, but transcendence. The spectator becomes a vessel of universal consciousness. Let's understand Sahirdayata. No ras can emerge without the presence of the Sahirday, the one with the same heart, derived from Sa, with, and Hirdaya, heart. It means the aesthetically sensitive spectator endowed with refined empathy, inner purity, and cultivated perception. Sahirdayata is the capacity to resonate with the artist's vision. It presupposes emotional openness, imagination, and contemplative receptivity. Abhinav Gupta describes the Sahirdaya as one whose mind is Shuddh, Prasann, Rasik, pure, serene, and capable of aesthetic delight. This resonates with the Upanishadic idea that knowledge dawns only in a purified heart, Shuddh Antah Karan. The Sahirdaya thus becomes the spiritual co-creator of the Rasa experience, the Rasik, whose refined consciousness transforms perception into aesthetic realization. In modern terms, Sahirdayata could be understood as aesthetic empathy or transpersonal attunement, the very condition for Sadharanikaran to unfold. Let's understand the progression from Bhav to Rasa. The aesthetic process begins with the Bhav, the emotive state expressed by the actor. This emotion is conveyed through sadrishya, the mimetic resemblance that makes it recognizable to the audience. A Sahirdaya, a sensitive and receptive spectator, apprehends this expression, and through Sadharanikaran or universalization, the particular emotion is transformed into a form that can be shared and appreciated by all. The culmination of this process is Rasa, the aesthetic relish that arises when the spectator experiences the emotion in its purified, universalized form. This sequence is not merely a mechanism of art, but a phenomenology of consciousness, where the personal and particular are elevated into the transcendental. Let's have comparative and philosophical reflections. Like Aristotelian catharsis, rasa involves emotional purification, but it culminates not in relief but in awareness. Like Kantian disinterestedness, it is detached from utility but is rooted in a spiritual intuition, not rational judgment. Like Husserlian epoche, it brackets reality but reveals the inner essence of emotion as consciousness itself. Hence, rasa is a bridge between aesthetics and metaphysics, revealing the unity of being and bliss through emotion. The philosophical significance of Nav Ras. The Navras are not merely emotional typologies. They form a spectrum of consciousness. Shringar, the creative principle, Iksha, Shakti. Veer, the dynamic principle, Kriya Shakti. Shant, the cognitive and equilibrial principle, Gyan Shakti. In the aesthetic ascent, all rasas converge in Shant Ras, the ras of equanimity and transcendence, where emotion resolves into pure awareness. Let's have concluding remarks. Rasa as aesthetic moksha. The rasa anubhav is thus a moment of aesthetic liberation, mukti through art. When sadrishya mirrors emotion, sadharnikaran universalizes it, and Sahridayata receives it with open awareness. The result is rasa, the tasting of consciousness itself. Art, therefore, is not an imitation of life, but a revelation of being, a sacred space where the aesthetic, the ethical, and the spiritual converge. Thank you. Best wishes.